So Dylan, 13 Reasons Why really took off in a kind of an unexpected way. Why do you think people responded so strongly to this show?
Man, I mean, not only are there a lot of characters that I think people can find themselves in on the show, but people go through these issues and these headspaces every day of their lives, and at least people around them, and I think it just touches people because it's just real. I mean, because these are things that happen every day at an alarming rate, and the fact that we addressed it head on and unflinching, and we try to make real teenagers out of these characters, I think is what people really attach to. And that's at least what I got attached to and why I wanted to do it. Yeah, I think that the fact that we pulled that off is second to none, and I'm excited about it. So.
Not just teenagers have been into this show. I mean, adults
Yeah.
as well. I mean, why do you think it's had that kind of crossover appeal? Do you think it's just that realness? Or?
Yeah, because you're not watching these sugar-coated, fabricated, made-up teens who, you know, there's a lot. I mean, no shade to any shows, but a lot of these shows, teens don't talk like that. They don't act that way. They don't do that. They don't look that way.
Yeah.
But the show, like, they didn't try to make us pretty. They didn't try to make us perfect. We cuss because that is what we do. I cuss. I'm pretty sure that's what teenagers do. And they do drugs and they drink. And that is our version of the teenagers in the show, which is what teenagers really do in real life. But, you know, yeah, anyway.
Well, there's also a fascinating mystery at the center of the show. And what's so interesting about it is that it both fulfills those genre qualifications.
Yeah.
I've lost the word. But also, I mean, it deals with a very serious subject matter. Yeah, can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think like it's interesting because we're touching on such serious subjects and issues that need to be talked about, and they are to an extent, and they always have been a little bit. But the goal with this was to really start conversations and to make this a joint worldwide mainstream topic, and for people to debate how they feel about it and what they have gone through, and people that they know who have gone through this, and the fact that we have started those conversations and the world is so aware of this now and talking about it, that feels so right, because that is what we wanted to do. But you know, at the end of the day, it is a TV series, and those are made for entertainment, so it's still a piece of entertainment, and you have to have those elements, and you have to have genre, and I think that it really walked the fine line and made the right balance, because that's hard to do. There's thrills, there's mystery, love, there's humor, and there's real emotion, and I'm so happy that I feel like we really pulled it off.
And your character, Clay, what's so interesting about him is that he really is the audience in this. I mean, so much of it he is observing and standing back from what's going on. While can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I felt a tremendous amount of weight on my shoulders for that reason. I've never quite played such an important role before, not only in the story but just in general, and I was nervous. I remember getting there, I had a little bit of a nervous breakdown. I was like, how am I going to do this? I've never done this before. What am I going to do? Because I'm not a confident actor, and I've never been faced with this kind of material before. For the audience to watch it through my eyes, it was a lot of responsibility, but I had a lot of help. I had amazing, talented actors around me to help me, and everyone was just so amazing that I think that's what helped me at the end of the day and gave me confidence, and the material was so strong that I wasn't worried anymore. When we were like halfway through, I felt pretty good about what we were doing, and I still do. And it makes me excited to go back this time, not nervous. Although I've never, I've reprised roles before, but not to this extent, and it's gonna be interesting to play Clay for another 6 months. It's gonna be weird, but it'll be good.
Why, what do you think draws Clay to Hannah?
Well, I mean, Clay is perceived as the nice guy at school, the quiet kid. He never really opens up to anybody, and nobody ever really decides to open up to him. He has friends, but they're just kind of more general acquaintances, really. And Hannah is the first person to really invest her time and energy into him, and to call him on his shit, and to be real to him. And I mean, you see that the first time they're conversing in the movie theater when she's training him at the Crestmont. She says some things to him that I think takes him off guard, because like, no one's ever treated me this way before, or treated me like a real human with emotions. So I think that Hannah just, she's such an incredible person, and just really brought Clay
Yeah.
out of his show. But yeah, I think that's Cray. You say Cray. But yeah.
Side note, I've worked at a couple of movie theaters in my past, so that was,
Oh, hey.
yeah.
Cool.
I was glad to see you.
Yeah, that movie theater actually is a set. They took an abandoned room in the middle of Vallejo and turned it into the Crestmont, which was really cool.
There's an interesting line you have, speaking of your relationship with Hannah. It's
Yeah.
in the first episode where I forget who you're talking to, but you basically say that around her you don't have to be who you are known to be.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's Kat. It was another interesting thing, because Kat, I think, is someone who's known Clay for years and has never seen him act the way that he's acting around Hannah, and he says that for that reason. Yeah, since Hannah brings him out, he feels like he can actually be real and be himself, and it gives him some confidence. Now, you definitely see a lack of confidence in Clay with Hannah, because it takes him forever to even open up to her and obviously kiss her. But I do think that Clay becomes a better and different person with her, and she really helped him out a lot. And that's also something that was, I'm kind of segueing into another topic, but I thought it was pretty interesting, because there's such an arc for Clay in the flashbacks with Hannah, but there's also such an arc for Clay in the present day, and it really felt like I was playing two different characters. Yes, they're the same person, but in totally different parts of his life, complete different headspace, and that I've never done that before. I felt that kind of responsibility, and that was what was really interesting, because I think they're both such fascinating arcs on their own, even if they were their own stories. Clay in the present day also becomes kind of a warrior and a voice for Hannah when she doesn't have one, and just wants to bring justice for her and for everyone else who's been affected by this. And it's so cool to see Clay really grow into this, just kind of growing into a man. It's kind of a coming of age story for Clay in the darkest, most twisted way, but it is. And that's also really fascinating and fun to play.
Had you read the book before you did this, or did you draw from that at all?
I started to read it when I was going up there to film, and I was telling them, like, I'm reading the book, I'm getting context, but, Brian and everyone said to me, the Clay that we're writing is the Clay that you'll be playing. There's no pressure to read the book, because Clay is much, much more expanded upon in the show than in the book, because the book takes place in one night. So you don't need to get wrapped up in who Clay is in the book. And that made sense to me, so I said, okay, that takes some weight off my shoulders, and I decided that it'd be best to finish the book after the first season, and that's what I did, and I'm happy I did, because it made the book even that much more impactful and special to me, because after being Clay for half a year, reading the book and reading his thoughts on paper, like, that was really made it a much better reading experience, I think. And I think the book's fantastic, and I'm so happy that we made it in the way that we did. So
Well, I'm interested because, so much of the impact of the show is you finding out the answers to these mysteries, to this mystery. So, did you know where it was going to go as you were filming it, or did you just read script by script?
I did know where it was going to go, and that was kind of intentional. I definitely wanted to get everything out of Brian, because I never wanted to be in the wrong place or be too ahead of myself in the performance. Kind of sounds pretentious, but you know what I mean? Like,
no idea.
Because I want to know point A and point B for Clay in the present day and in the past, and where he ends up, so that I'm not overdoing it early on. I want to know the extremes that Clay goes to, even to the smallest detail later on in the season. So I wanted to know every detail what Clay was going to do, so that I knew how to play it correctly, and so I didn't overdo it. And Tom McCarthy really helped us all, I think, in the beginning for the first two episodes, because he kept stressing, you got to keep this light, because these characters have a long way to go, and he would keep stressing that. And it took a bit, because the material is heavy, and naturally you're going to start off playing it kind of heavy, but that note really helped and made so much sense to me. I'm so happy he set that tone, because I think that is what made this show feel real, and besides the writing, of course, but that was great, and that's how I think everyone started in a really healthy place, and why it seemed like such arcs for all the characters, because it was just, everyone was ramping up, and I'm excited. So does it keep going from here? I have no idea. We'll see what happens, but yeah. So
much of the show is just you listening to tapes.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, did you have audio from Hannah playing in yours? Like, how did you get to that performance?
Yeah, they would play Hannah's voiceover that's on paper through a little speaker while I had headphones on, and I could just hear it through the headphones. Not in the headphones, but I could hear it. But what's interesting, so there was nothing really playing in the headphones, but what was interesting is I never realized that Walkmans can pick up radio frequencies, so, even though they don't play the radio or have like it was weird. I'd be doing an emotional scene, sitting there having to be all sad, and then meanwhile there's a little faint hint of Katy Perry playing in the right ear, and I'd be going, this is so strange. And I'd hear some pop music in a lot of those scenes. So wondering what my inspiration was in those scenes. It was Katy Perry, strictly Katy Perry.
Why tapes? I mean, why does Hannah use tapes? This being a modern show.
I think so it doesn't make this easy for anybody. I mean, it's easy to skip over files or delete them or hide them, but I mean, when there's only 2 sets of tapes and there's such specific rules, I think it just makes it more difficult for them and more of an experience and harder to listen. And that was probably her goal. I mean, I think Brian would have a better answer for you there, but that's how I perceive it.
Was there a particular moment throughout the course of this first season that was really difficult for you to play?
I was nervous about Clay's tape because I knew that was going to be my character, his whole, everything he's wondering is what's on his tape and what's building up to it, and that was a little difficult for me leading up to it, but once I got there and I read the script and I connected to it, I felt a lot better about it. But gosh, I don't know. I feel like the storytelling really made sense and his arc made sense to me, so it never really got to a point where it was more difficult than other times. It all always made sense, and I felt like I knew where we were at. It was more exciting though. Like, I liked episode 7 where we see Clay start to lose his shit fully, and he's hallucinating the entire episode and screaming at people in the hallways, and I knew that we were going to get to that point in the middle, and I was really excited about that. And to me, it wasn't difficult as much as it was fun, because Clay, we know, has a past of taking anxiety pills, medication, and has anxiety issues, and to play those was fun. I never had gotten to do that before, so it was more just like, where's Clay at in this episode? How is he different? What do we get to do? Yeah, no, honestly, the most difficult part was learning to rock climb for episode 8.
Well, well, I mean, you deal with such heavy emotional material in this. I guess, you know, if it was difficult for you to like get into that headspace, or you know, if there was something that you drew upon in dealing with the death of your friend.
Well, I'm lucky. I've never really experienced something that like exactly like the story this close to me in real life, and you know, a lot of people do, but
knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly, knock on wood. But I think that nobody had it easy on the show. We all had to get in a real headspace, and they helped us out a lot though. I mean, they sat us down with a lot of doctors and professionals beforehand, psychologists who have dealt with these things and people going through this, and people. Sorry, that's just Kate Walsh. But they've dealt with, what was I saying? Oh yeah, who've dealt with the people who've gone through this and people surrounding them, and really it was just understanding where someone like Clay would be. So I'm able to separate it a little bit, which is good. I'm able to go home and put it to the side, but not to an extent though, because I was always learning lines, going to bed and working. That was my whole life for 6 months, but Northern California isn't that far from Southern California, which is where I live. I was able to fly back quite a lot, and I was able to get out of it, have fun, go back at work. It put me in a good headspace mostly for most of the time, but a lot of people didn't have that easy. A lot of people are far away from home on the show, but we all support each other and love each other, and so the fact that we're all great friends really helps a lot too. But yeah. So.
Now I know you haven't. You don't really know what season 2 is going to be like, but I know the fans are going to want any kind of information.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, is most of or all of the creative team coming back for it, or?
Most of the creative team?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, not all the same directors due to schedules. We do have a couple of the same directors, which I'm so excited about because I love them all. But there are some that I really wish could be there though, due to schedules because they were all so great. But you know, I think we have a couple new writers, but it's really the same writing team and producers, and we're all just as excited as we were last year. I mean, for me, I think what made season 1 so special is that none of us knew if anyone was going to watch it. We didn't know if anyone was going to like it. We were just going to work and trying to do the best job we could to make the best product, and I think that's why it was such a great result. And I know it is for me, and I hope it's the case for everyone this year, that we're going in assuming that nobody's going to watch it, assuming that nobody's going to like it, and we have to do the best job to make a good product so that we can make something as great as season 1, if not better. Because it'd be quite a feat if we made something as special as the first one, and I think we're all devoted to that. So I'm excited to see where it goes, where Clay's at, how much anxiety he has, how much he cries, how happy he is. I have no idea, but I'm going to be living it for 6 months, so we'll talk again and I'll tell you how it was.
I hope so.
Yeah.
What do you hope people take away from this show when they watch it?
I mean, you know, Clay says at the end of the season, it's a very simple line. He says, it has to get better. We have to treat each other better. It has to get better somehow. And that overall is just the 2-line message of this, which is that it's exactly what we have to treat each other better, and we have to keep our eye out for others and be there for each other. And that's really it. I mean, I could go on for hours about what I want people to take away from it, because I have a lot of thoughts on it, but that's really it, you know, and to be aware and reach out and help, you know.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.